Hello, my name's Andy Smith and I'm the designated safeguarding lead here at Transplant Mastertrain. What we're going to be looking at in this lesson is safeguarding, an overview. What is safeguarding? We're also going to be talking about what does it mean to you and what are our processes here at Transplant Mastertrain. So, what is safeguarding? There's some very strong words jumping out the screen at us at the moment, aren't there? We've got abuse, trauma, grooming, fear, threats, victim, manipulation, neglect, an awful lot of very strong, very powerful words. By definition, safeguarding is a term used in the United Kingdom and Ireland to denote measures to protect health, well-being and human rights of individuals, which allow people, especially children, young people and vulnerable adults, to live free from abuse, harm and neglect. What we're about to watch is a short video just providing an overview to safeguarding, and we're going to start looking into what is a vulnerable adult.
It is important that we look at what is defining safeguarding. Before we can examine the issues that surround the protection of vulnerable adults, we must first establish what is a vulnerable adult. The law requires that safeguarding adults is everyone's business. The CARE Act 2014 ensures that safeguarding vulnerable adults means protecting a person's right to live in safety, free from abuse and neglect. In British law, a vulnerable adult is defined as being aged 18 years old or over and at risk of abuse or neglect because of their needs and/or support. A vulnerable adult, then, by definition, is far less able to protect itself. Without adequate protection, an adult with needs is at risk of harm, mistreatment, exploitation, or neglect from others. This makes the adult vulnerable. Adults with mental disabilities, mature age or illnesses do not understand their vulnerability, which is one of the main reasons they are at even greater risk of mistreatment or harm. The law states that it is the responsibility or duty of care of staff and volunteers in public, voluntary, and private organisations to protect the vulnerable adults for which they are responsible. In addition, such staff must ensure that there is a minimum risk of harm and exposure to the perpetrators of harm for all vulnerable adults. In this country, every adult has a right to a life free of fear, harm and neglect, not to be forced to do anything against their will, to be protected, have their choices respected, to be listened to and have a say in their care. It is clear, therefore, that due to their vulnerability, vulnerable adults need the protection of adults who can assist them in living a life free of harm and abuse. Protection is a method of guarding against danger or harm to ensure that vulnerable adults are safe and free from the risk of significant harm. Significant harm is defined as the ill treatment leading to impairment of health or development. We will explore the concept of significant harm in greater detail a little later.
So now we've got a clearer understanding of safeguarding, we're going to look at the responsibilities that we have in regards to safeguarding. Now, when I say the responsibilities that we have, I don't just mean us as training providers at Transplant Mastertrain. I don't just mean your employers. I mean the responsibilities for yourself as well, whether that is looking out for colleagues, or sometimes even recognising those warning signs within yourself. So there are 6 basic principles to safeguarding, the first of which is empowerment. So by empowerment, I mean people are supported and encouraged to make their own decisions with informed consent. When we say empowerment, we're not looking to take over people's lives. We're not looking to rush in and insist that this is a course of action that they take, that this is what they must do. We are looking to offer support. We're looking sometimes to offer knowledge and education. We're looking to point them in the direction of where they can find help, of the options available to them. And we're also looking sometimes just to let them know that someone's there to listen. Yeah, so when we say empowerment, it's very much a case of we are looking to help the individual, not to come in blindly insisting that this is a course of action they must take. Prevention. It's better to take action before harm occurs. This is a crucial one. We don't want to be here cleaning up messes. do we? We want to be able to spot the early warning signs. We want to be able to recognize signs and symptoms that someone may be struggling, that someone may be in trouble, and be able to offer that support before things deteriorate to too bad a state. Proportionality. So we're looking to take the least intrusive response appropriate to the risk presented. As we said, we're not looking to plough in like a bull in a china shop. We're looking to offer support, help and guidance and understand fully the situation. We don't want to be flying in with an over-the-top response when we can just literally be offering a small amount of support to help and guide the individual, to help them make their own decisions. So we will take that into account. Protection. We are looking to support and represent those in greatest need. This is another very, very important one. We're going to look at just a moment at who is a vulnerable adult. What are the signs that we can be looking out for? And then importantly, once we've spotted those signs and symptoms, we can be there to help. Partnership is something that we are very fortunate with here at Transplant Mastertrain. We have links, very strong links locally to us. We also have very strong links up and down the country, whether that is with associations such as LADO, support networks such as LADO and local safeguarding networks. We have an awful lot of friends and links up and down the country. Our reporting procedure we will look at later on. Basically, we have all the way from a face-to-face meeting with our skills officers to reporting to local authorities and meetings in local areas for any issues that may be going above and beyond. We are very fortunate with our friends and links up and down the country. Accountability is the biggest one I'd like to talk to us about, and that is this kind of mantra, what if I'm right? If you spot something, no matter how trivial, take responsibility, take ownership. Our gut instinct is one of the most effective safeguarding tools there is, to be honest with you. We're just about to look at a video now talking about who is a vulnerable adult, how do we recognise the signs and symptoms of vulnerability, but trust yourself. If something's not sitting right, report it. If you feel uncomfortable with someone's actions, if you have concerns about the way someone is behaving, report it. What if you're right? Yeah, it's very easy to dismiss things and say, I might be wrong, I don't want to get involved, I'll leave it. But if it's reported, we can look to help, we can find out. Worst case scenario, it was nothing and nothing's lost. Best case scenario, and this goes back to prevention, we're able to get involved, offer support before things get any worse. We're going to look now at a video talking about what is a vulnerable adult, and hopefully this will help us be able to recognise the signs and symptoms of those in need.
Who is a vulnerable adult? Our study will focus on adults, their vulnerability, and the need for them to be protected in a range of community, care, education, and other supported environments. Anyone can be a vulnerable adult who is of adult age and at risk of harm, which can occur anywhere, including own homes, public places, care, nursing homes, residential, sheltered housing, social clubs and groups, hospitals including residential psychiatric wards. Vulnerable adults do not understand the meaning or implications of their vulnerability. The statutory guidance, developed by the government, is always to ensure the protection of vulnerable adults. An adult that is considered to be at risk: those suffering with long-term illness or condition for which they receive healthcare, are elderly and weak, have learning difficulties, physical or mental disabilities, sensory impairment, are victims of domestic abuse, being bullied or homeless, detained in psychiatric ward or lawful custody, are unable to make decisions for themselves and requires support and care. As defined in the Care Act 2014, a local authority must act when it has reasonable cause to suspect that an adult in its area, whether or not ordinarily resident there, has needs for care and support, whether or not the authority is meeting any of those needs, is experiencing or is at risk of abuse or neglect, as a result of those needs, is unable to protect himself or herself against the abuse or neglect or the risk of it. There are no defined criteria in which to judge abuse of a vulnerable adult. It is judged upon a range of factors, including the severity of the ill treatment, degree and extent of physical harm, duration and frequency of abuse and neglect, extent of premeditation, degree of threat and coercion, presence of sexual abuse. Sometimes a single traumatic event may account to abuse, such as a violent assault, suffocation or poisoning. More often, abuse is a collection of significant events, both acute and long-standing, which can interrupt, change or damage the vulnerable adult's physical and psychological development. To understand and establish whether abuse has or is likely to occur, it is necessary to consider the vulnerable adult's individual needs, emotional, psychological and behavioural, the ability of the carer, providing support and guidance, setting routines and providing stability, the family and environmental factors, housing, employment, income and community resources, the nature of the harm, ill treatment or the inability to provide adequate care. It is important to recognise that abuse may be caused by acts of both omission and of commission, an adult or young person, a stranger or somebody in a position of trust.
So now we've got a better idea of the warning signs to be looking for. What can we consider in our own behaviours? What can we do better? So first and foremost, take ownership of our own actions, whether intentionally or unintentionally. Don't put anyone else in a position that could put pressure on them or lead them to becoming a vulnerable adult. Also that mantra, what if I'm right? If you spot something, report it. We need to be looking out for those warning signs and recognising those who may be vulnerable. Think prevention. Yeah. Be vigilant of unusual or suspicious behaviour. Again, what if you're right? Be ready to report it. Never be ashamed to ask for help. This is a big one. There's all too easy a culture in the UK to kind of sit back on personal pride, not want to put your hand up and recognise, look, I need a chat. I need someone to talk to. I don't know what to do in this situation. I need help. Please never feel that you are in that situation. There is always support for you here at Transplant Mastertrain, whether that is your skills officer, whether that is ourselves in the safeguarding team, there is always support. Please never ever be ashamed to be asking for help. Speak up. Yeah, and this is coming back yet again to what if I'm right? If anything doesn't sit well with you, if you have any concerns in regards to any of your colleagues, co-workers, family members, yourself, please speak up. Yeah, let us know about it and then potentially we might be able to help. Trust your instinct. Yeah, again, what if I'm right? Yeah, your gut instinct really is one of the best tools you've got. If there's something that doesn't feel comfortable, talk to us about it. Now I'd like to introduce you to the safeguarding team at Transplant Mastertrain. This is an image that hopefully you've seen before. You should have been shown it during your enrolment. It will also be on the walls around the office at Transplant Mastertrain. There's also a digital version of this. All the contact details you will be able to access through one file. So how can you keep yourself safe? If something worrying you, are you scared for yourself or someone else? Who can you tell? These are all the contact links for the safeguarding team here at Transplant. You can see the apprentices at transplantlimited.co.uk email address. That is an inbox you can just drop a message into and someone will get back to you if you wish to report things anonymously. You can also leave a message in the comments box. If you're here on site, we have one you can just drop a piece of paper into. There's also the office phone number if you want to just get in contact with the office in general and then have them distribute it. Also, for all of the individuals below, if we go left to right, you have Andy Smith, which is me, the designated safeguard lead here at Transplant Mastertrain. My mobile number is available for you on one file. Also, Ben Turner, who's the deputy safeguarding lead, Alice Meslin, and Brad Goldsworthy, who you will also know as the head of apprenticeships. So 4 different faces for any of you to approach. Of course, there's also your own individual skills officers as well. Whoever you feel most comfortable talking to in whichever form of communication you prefer, please come to us. We would much rather be able to be in a position where we can help you. Finally, today I'd like to talk and recap our processes here at Transplant Mastertrain. As you can see on screen, we've got a flowchart of how we look to deal with any safeguarding concerns that are raised with us. If you'd like to bring something towards us, we like to make it as accessible as possible for you. Lots of different ways in which you can get in touch, whether that is direct contact with your skills officer, whether that is face-to-face, a phone call, a text message, an email, popping a message on OneFile. There is always your skills officer as your first port of call. If you'd rather speak to somebody else, you can drop a message to the apprenticeships@transplantlimited.co.uk email address, which will be reviewed by our team and then distributed appropriately. You can also get in touch directly with the safeguarding team. All of our details are available online on OneFile for you to access, or on any emails that have been sent out. Once we receive a concern, we look to review that immediately. We will take stock, we will look to offer appropriate support, and we will look to action that within a 24-hour period. So anything that is brought to us, we do look to try and deal with as swiftly as possible and offer the appropriate support and guidance. If that's been resolved, fantastic, but we won't just leave it there. We will check in. Yeah, we will make sure that whatever the situation is, whatever guidance has been offered, we will check in just to make sure that the individuals involved are on the right track and are okay. So we will revisit in the future. We won't just leave it there. If further support is needed, whether that's for the individual or whether that is for the skills officer, members of the safeguarding team, there are people that they can go to. Skills officers will always receive support at transplant from members of the safeguarding team, from myself, from leadership. We will look to offer further advice and guidance on dealing with any situation. Likewise, if it's something that I need further advice or guidance on, we are very fortunate with our links, whether that is going to groups such as LADO or local safeguarding networks and agencies. We have those links up and down the country, so we can always go to local support links to yourself as a student. Hopefully, guys, today has offered you a bit of an insight into what is safeguarding. Hopefully, you now have a very good understanding of the warning signs to be looking out for, whether that is in a colleague, a friend, a family member, whether it is in yourself. Hopefully, you now have a good understanding of the processes and support offered to you by transplant. And don't forget, this is all available with your employers as well. Please be aware, guys, don't feel you are on your own at any stage. There is support for you here. There is support for you at work. Thank you very much for your time, guys, and I look forward to seeing you soon.